Hello, my name is Dr. Stephen Critchlow. I'm a consultant psychiatrist and have also been a church pastor. And I'm beginning a series of talks on this problem of suffering and a God of love, because many people struggle to understand these things. And you remember last time I talked about the fact that Greek soldiers following Alexander walked off the edge of the map. And it's rather like that today. Many people feel lost. They do not know where to turn. And they seem to struggle in particular with this problem of suffering. And I believe that we have answers to this difficult area. But one of the problems that we have is that we can sometimes say that actually religion has made things worse. And a few years ago, I had the privilege of going to India, and I was part of a medical team, and we were serving and helping people called the Dalits, or the untouchables. And of these, there are 250 million, or perhaps more today. And those 250 million are really excluded from Hindu society. They have the most menial jobs like carrying dung or catching rats and a terrible life that they lead, because they're envisioned as being under the foot of the Hindu god. They're excluded from in a sense, the caste system. They are India's, in a sense, forgotten people, and they have these menial jobs, and life is so difficult for them. Once, for example, 5 of these Dalit men were killed because they were skinning a cow, and people thought that they'd killed the cow, and they killed the men instead who were skinning the cow because there'd been some misunderstanding, and their lives are so undervalued. People are in bonded labour. In fact, if you go onto a site called the Dalit Freedom Network, you can find out much more about how you can help these forgotten people. But they are, in a sense, excluded by the religious system. But then also in the Christian faith, we've had problems in this area of suffering. For example, many people feel it's blessed to suffer. And somehow, if you're suffering with physical pain or mental difficulties, that somehow you've just got to struggle on, because this is a measure of fact, then somehow there's blessing through the suffering. Somehow in going through that pain, that there's blessing, and therefore God has given it to you as a way of testing you to try and help you move forward spiritually. But that is not an understanding that we find in the New Testament. It's come to us in different ways through Christian history. But really, you might say, well, surely there's suffering in the New Testament. Yes, there is. But let me explain something to you. Whenever Jesus found people who were in pain or struggling with ill health or struggling with sickness, what did he do? He healed them. And when he sent out his disciples, he sent them out to heal people and to bring God's blessing to them. He does not inflict disease or illness upon them. But then you might say to me, well, what does Jesus mean when he says, take up your cross daily and follow me? What is Jesus talking about there? Well, you see, that is rather different. You see, Jesus actually died on a cross. They put him on a cross. And of the early disciples, basically pretty well all of them died the death of Christian martyrs, because they were crucified or killed for their faith. And there are fairly good historical evidence for that. They went to their deaths proclaiming that Jesus was risen, and nothing could shake their confidence in that. But they were put to death for it. And so many people were persecuted for the sake of their faith. But that is very different from struggling with sickness and illness and emotional difficulties. Of course, as a psychiatrist, I see whenever I'm working people with major emotional problems and depression and sickness of the mind. and others have sickness of the body. But these things are not there so that we can, in a sense, struggle on with them, but rather that they can be healed and that they can be helped. And that is, of course, what we do as medical personnel. Our desire is to help and bring healing and blessing into people's lives, because, of course, that is also the heart of Christ. And so what I would say is that religion has sometimes distorted our view of God. God is a God of love. God is a God of blessing. You remember one of the stories of Jesus is how a woman who'd been suffering from a hemorrhagic condition for many, many years and could find no help through her physicians, she came and touched the hem of Jesus' garment. She would have been excluded in that society, but Jesus welcomed her and included her and blessed her for her faith. And that is the heart of God the Father expressed in Jesus, is an expression of desire to bring healing and blessing and wholeness to our lives. Thank you.